comedy was like the first thing I really cared about. Like I did other stuff in high school, like when I boxed for like 6 years.
Okay.
I used to teach scuba diving. There's like a bunch of different stuff I used to do for long periods of time.
Yeah.
But they were all kind of decisions from other people.
Okay, like family?
Yeah, like my parents got me into boxing, and I got into scuba diving through university because my parents wanted me to go right to university.
Yeah.
So comedy was the first thing where I was like, oh, I like this, I'm going to go do it, and just go out there on my own and try it out. And so I have like a real passion, real focus. And from putting that mentality of like accomplishing your goals and then seeing the long-term like effects of doing something I really like and putting a lot of effort into it, I'm like, okay, well, I can apply that mentality of accomplishing goals to other things and then see long-term accomplishments.
You feel like a motivational speaker to me now.
Oh, yeah?
What kind of things do you do to motivate yourself or keep yourself focused?
I try to write down my goals every day, so then I have like a to-do list sort of thing.
Your goals like for the day?
Yeah, so I have like daily, weekly, and yearly goals.
Wow, okay. How did you start this? Why did you start this? Did somebody teach you to do this?
Yeah, actually, I got into this through, I did sales briefly, and if you've ever been in like a sales environment, it's very like, you gotta be super motivated, on top.
There's no such thing as self-doubt.
Yeah, exactly. So being in that mentality, I got introduced to like Tony Robbins and like the self-help, like motivational videos and stuff. And I still listen to motivational videos to like get pumped up.
They're helpful.
They are.
They like really do get you. Like I've listened to Tony Robbins and I've been like really excited about my life.
I find when I do that, I drop a lot of like insecurities and stuff like that and just stop worrying about things and stay focused on what I need to do. And when I accomplish those things, I start feeling even better. So that's how I got into that mindset. And I find it helps with like just accomplishing other things. It's big in Colorado right now. They're doing like Sativa protein bars. So you eat that like before you work out, so you're getting this like, you're getting basically like what you need to build muscle and everything, and you're like your pre-workout sort of meal mixed with the sativa, and then it takes long enough to kick in that you wait like a half hour so you don't get cramps or anything like
and
that.
It's legal there, right?
Yeah.
So it's very
I'm not exactly sure what it is. I know because in Washington and Colorado they legalized it, but it's not legalized federally in the states. It's legalized, I don't know what the other, like a state by state.
Okay.
So in the state it's legal, but I think if the federal government wanted to come down on it, they still could. But they're making so much money off the tax, like I don't think they would. Like I think it's still kind of in a gray area. Well, from what I heard is Trudeau said he announced on 420 that legalization is going to happen in 2017. But the progress I heard that's happening is they want to legalize it where it's like an LCBO type situation, but you can't like grow it yourself. You can't. What was the other restriction? There won't be like clinics and stuff like that.
Vapor lounges either.
Won't be vapor lounges. I think that's what it was. Which is ridiculous. Like you can make your own beer, you can grow your own tobacco. Like you just legalize it. Don't pussyfoot around it. At this point, it's almost ridiculous that it's still illegal. Like I guess I get that it has to go through the process. Yeah. But if it's a substance, if people want to use it, they can use it. If people want to use Tylenol, they can. I feel like we've all had this argument so many times that now it's just tired. So many people have either tried it or are currently using it. But I think it'll get there. I think it's going to be a slow process. Because Canada legalizing weed it's not just about Canada. It's going to affect the States and other countries and the UK, and it's going to be a big deal. Yeah. So there's all those other things to keep in consideration. It's not as simple as, well, we should just be able to smoke it. It's like, okay, well, what if that affects trade with other countries because they don't want to trade with us because we're legalizing pot, so it's affecting their situation with marijuana in their country and they're against it, blah, blah, blah. Right. So it's bigger than what we think it is. I was living in this house before with some other comedians.
How does that happen?
Well, comics are constantly coming to the city and moving and leaving.
Okay.
So there's a stand-up community forum in Toronto. So like when people need roommates, they post on there like, hey, someone's moving out, or I need a place to live. And that's how like a lot of people find roommates and stuff.
That's very interesting. Yeah. Ooh, look who's here, Jesse.
Hey,
I have this.
Oh, that's fabulous because I
do you want a filter in it?
Today. No, it doesn't matter.
Okay.
This is good.
We take care of each other. So we're not a couple. Somewhere we thought we were recently. We've been coming to the Hot Bucks as regulars for a while.
Yes, we have.
And apparently some people thought we were a couple.
Yes.
And one person said we moved together like a couple. I was like, we moved
like a couple.
Yeah.
I don't know what that means. We don't hold hands.
I guess just your
right?
Kissing? I don't know.
I was in grade 4 and I made like a funny speech about my family. I can't remember anything that was in it. That just stuck in my head. And then in grade 5 the next year, I tried to write a serious speech and I couldn't do it. And then there was like
interesting.
There was no public.
I have to entertain people.
But that stuff never got in my head as like be a comic. Like for years and years there was no more public speaking, and even like at the beginning of high school, I started watching comedy a lot, but still never thought to be a comedian. And then in the last 2 years of high school, I did public speaking again, and I remembered in grade 4, like I made it funny, so try making it funny again. So I did the same thing, made a funny speech, and in grade 11 and 12, I got to go in front of the school. But it wasn't until a few years after that, my brother started doing stand-up in Vancouver, and I was like, what do you, because I didn't know, I would watch people on TV, and you're like this huge comedian, there's thousands of people watching you. I thought you had to be famous, and then you were a comedian. And so...
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I had no idea that you could just do it. I was like, what do you mean you're just doing stand-up?
It's like artists. You have to be dead first.
I wrote enough for like a 5-minute set, and I was like, why don't I just do it? And then I just went to go try.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you have a very like supportive family?
Yeah.
You sound like you do. Instead of what a difference a day makes, what a difference a family makes.
Yeah.
Really, it does.
And is it just you and your brother, or do you have other siblings?
I have 2 sisters as well. Yeah.
And are they funny? Is your whole family
everyone's
funny?
Pretty funny. Yeah, we all crack jokes and dust balls and all that kind of stuff.
Are you guys funny?
It's kind of mixed up. So my dad was married before and had 2 kids, and that's my brothers and sister on my dad's side, and they grew up in Montreal. And then when my dad and his ex-wife got divorced, he met my mom, and she already had a daughter, who's my sister on my mom's side, and then they had me. And then the whole family ended up coming together in BC. Growing up, my dad was like, never blame anything on your race. He's like, anything that happens, if you have to work harder, you just have to work harder. That's your reality. There's nothing you can do about it. Don't blame it on the color of your skin. And I grew up in a really multicultural area. Not a lot of black people in BC, but there's people from the Middle East, there's Asian people, there's white people from all different types of cultures, like Italian, Serbian, like all sorts of different types of people. So I don't remember race being too huge of an issue. I remember having like a little bit of my identity crisis in high school. Like I was never really too deeply into black culture, like hip hop and certain things that are like stereotypically black. But I felt like I should be that way, and it wasn't until I left home that I got to kind of grow out of that and become more of myself. But coming to Toronto, I try not to pay attention to it too much. Like and not like race issues, but if like I was getting on the bus and the bus driver was rude to me, I wouldn't be like, oh, he's rude to me because I'm black. Right. He's rude to me because he's being a rude guy. Yeah. I don't try to antiquate things to race too often, but there are some things like, if someone uses the N-word, things you can't ignore. He named me after Che Guevara.
Yes, that was one of my questions. Yeah. I was like, I want to tell like Che.
Che. In Argentina, they use Che all the time.
That's where he gets the nickname from.
Yes.
It's because he would say Che. It's like almost a filler word, like an A, like, hey, how's it going? But he says Che so often, they gave him the nickname Che. His real name's Ernesto, and then that's how he became Che Guevara.
It's like saying dude.
Yeah.
Che, oye, Che. Do you have a Che t-shirt?
I do. Someone gave me one. I've never bought one, but someone gave me one. Sometimes I think if Che saw his face on t-shirts throughout the West,
he'd be like, "Whoa, that would be horrible."
It was like everything against what he stood for.
That's so fucking crazy.
Yeah, somebody, whoever, making a bunch of money off of selling his face on a t-shirt.
Oh my
That's
God.
crazy.
I feel like if I were to talk about my dating experience, I would feel like I would be kind of accumulating people, making them into one person.
Yeah.
With all the traits combined of all these individuals.
That sounds a lot like how you make a joke. Some people who are heckling are having a good time, and they think they're contributing to the show. And you just need to give them like a quick joke or a shutdown or just be like, yeah, like acknowledge them and then continue. Some people are trying to be malicious and are like just mean, and some people just try to put them in their place, or you just have them removed. The good thing about like a comedy club is if someone's talking, you can be like, okay, make a joke, and you can be like, okay, keep it down, and then if they keep going, you can be like, you're out of here.
Right.
Which is really nice because people came to watch the show, right? I think in like the club environment, for me at least where I've performed so far, that's where you get the best audience. It's tight, the ceilings are low, seats maybe anywhere from like some clubs are smaller to seat like maybe 30 or 90 people, some are bigger, seat like 200-300 people. But you get an environment where everyone came for comedy, everyone's like, that's their mindset. When people paid for comedy, like when you put down money and you're like, I'm here to see a comedy show, you're invested in that mentally and you want to laugh. So that's where you get some of the best audiences.
Do you remember your first time on stage?
It was good. My first time was good. It wasn't until a couple months in that I had like my first real, like really bad bomb. I'd been doing it for a couple months, and there was a place I bartended at. It was a French-Canadian sports bar, and the owner was like, hey, you've been doing comedy, you should do some stand-up in between intermissions as like an act to like keep things going. And I was like, sure, that's great. So I showed up, and we couldn't hook the mic up to the sound system. So I yelled comedy at like 200 French Canadians who barely spoke English, and it was just set up to lose right from the beginning. And I've been doing comedy for a couple months. Like I had no tools to make a show work, right?
But don't they say that every comedian needs to bomb? I kind of feel like I wouldn't purposely bomb just to like get it over with. Like do a really bad like first show.
It's bombing. You learn like in anything. People always say you learn more from a loss than you do from a win. And bombing is the same thing. When you bomb, you learn.
Do you believe that?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You learn more from a loss than a win.
Because when you lose, like when you won, you're like, okay, how did we win? Well, I just did what I do, and that like if I go up and have a good set, I just told my jokes and maybe I did a little crowd interaction. Maybe I did a few things differently. But when you bomb, you're like, I'm never gonna do this again. Like I had a bad set recently in BC. I was doing a show my brother runs, and I didn't realize how nervous I was, but I was performing in front of my family, and I never really do that, and it was also in front of my brother, and there was a bunch of like big comics there, Vancouver comics, and I just was forgetting jokes one after the other. I couldn't remember my set. And after that, and now before I go to a show, I have my set list, and I'm running through every joke word by word through my head, like how it leads into the next joke and how everything happens, where the pauses are. Like I'm never making that mistake again.
Wow.
Yeah, it's important to bomb, and it even like really high level comics bomb. There's do you guys know Tom Segura?
No.
He's super funny. He has a couple specials on Netflix. He does a podcast called Your Mom's House. It's a great name for a podcast.
Does he go to like comics' moms' houses?
No, it's just called Your Mom's House.
Okay,
it's just a silly joke. But he had a set in Winnipeg. I'm pretty sure it was in Winnipeg, and it was like a corporate thing. A bunch of these people came, and he was doing this. Doing the show at this. I don't know if it was a bar or a club, But he had a horrible bomb, like where one guy was like being aggressive with him, and he's like, "You got to get out of here." But there was a whole group of people who came together, so like, no, we want him to stay, and then the club didn't kick the guy out, and so the atmosphere was weird, and the whole crowd turned against him, and he just had this terrible set, and he plays the set and talks about it. And actually, a Toronto guy, do you guys know Tricks?
We're very new to the comedy scene.
Okay.
The comedy scene at the Hot Box is pretty much like where, as far, you too, yeah.
Well, Tricks is a well-known comic out here. Very, very funny guy.
Cool.
He opened for him that night.
Okay.
But like Tom Segura is a very high-level comedian. He has Netflix specials, and even he had a bomb. Yeah.
Tricks. Is it Trix?
Two X's.
Okay.
My favorite comedian? That's super hard. Like, I love Chappelle was like one of the first guys. He's so good.
I fell in love with him last summer.
When I watched like the Chappelle show and then I would watch his stand-up, I remember that being like me really starting to comprehend the difference between like sketch comedy and stand-up comedy and like funny movies and understanding the different categories of comedy. And he was like what really made me, I guess, want to start trying stand-up, or like made me want to like talk in front of people and be funny when I would think about like writing, doing like the public speaking and stuff like that. But right now, I love Bill Burr. Bill Burr's super funny. I think he's like very much in his prime right now. He's loose. He's being himself. He has like a solid identity. I like guys who are like don't care what anyone thinks about what they say. Like Doug Stanhope is super funny. Who else? There's Jen Kirkman's new special was killer. Her Netflix special was so good. I like comics. I'm not an angry comic, but I like angry comics. I like the expression of anger in a funny way is really, really funny to me. The frustration.
That might be me. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think I'm funniest when I'm angry. I'm like, shit.
But yeah, dating's all over the place. I try to do it sometimes.
Yeah. Do it? No.
Yeah.
Let's get dirty now. This is why you're really here. No. Have you ever thought about doing motivational speaking for like youth? You seem like you could really like do a good job. People would want to follow you. You could probably have your own cult.
Maybe.
So how do you explain life, say, for yourself?
Like God and stuff?
Yeah.
Oh, that's so hard. I don't know. Like, there was, when I was living in Mexico before I left, there was a guy who introduced me to like a lot of health and fitness stuff. And that got me really deep into that. Like, I used to lift and work out, but I didn't understand like proper use of like vitamins and like things like coconut oil, how good that is for you, or like other supplements and minerals, and how you can put these other things in your body and like and amplify and optimize your health. And he taught me a lot about this stuff. And he was also a really spiritual guy into like different religions and looked into different other things. And he opened my mind to a few things. I don't know where I am on it, like is there a God, is there not a God, blah, blah, blah. I don't know if it makes a difference, if I believe in something. I want there to be something after, because I feel like that's just so boring. It's not like I believe like we're all going to be, I'm like, no, I just want something cool after. Like I want there to be like a cool thing, like we go through all this and we can imagine infinity, and then it's done. Like I want a cool thing at least.
And also, for me, I feel like I can't grasp the idea of just not existing.
Yeah.
Like just being gone.
Yeah, that would be a bummer. But I remember when I moved to Toronto, so I'd been doing stand-up in Mexico for like a year, and I was like stuck. I had lost my job because this company I was working for, they like basically they didn't do my paperwork and stuff, and I ended up just not having a visa, and I like had to leave the country, and I had like almost no money, and I wanted to do comedy. And then this guy who I was talking about before, he's like, you're a comedian. He's like, if I was you, he's like, I'll just sell all my stuff and go. But then I was like, I'll sell my scuba diving equipment. I sold it, and I got like enough money to get a plane ticket and come to Toronto.
Wow.
But when that happened, when I had that idea of selling the diving gear, and from him telling me that, I said thank you, like just out
Like the universe kind of
yeah, just because I'm like that, this is what has to happen, and now I'm here and doing this.
So you said thank you to something.
There's something, whatever that was, if it was to myself for thinking of it, or to something for putting the idea in my head, or to him for giving me the idea of selling the stuff. Whatever it was, I was so grateful for now knowing how I was going to get to Toronto and be able to do comedy. I'm sure there's like little things I do, especially like show prep, like going over my set. Like I have like a ritual to like get into how I'm going to do a show. Yeah. But like before, when I would drink before I would do comedy, now I like barely drink. But I would always have 3 beers. I was like, that's the right number of beers for me to get into a state of where I feel comfortable and I'm loose. But nothing I can really like put my finger on that's huge. I'm like, I have to do this. I got a couple shows tonight, and then Sunday, same thing. Go out and do more shows. Yeah, just like write. I try to write every day, and then go out and do the shows.
You keep on doing your thing. Inspire people just by shining.
Yes, thank you.